Jamal Thompson had been a garbage collector for 12 long years. Every morning before sunrise, he'd put on his faded green uniform, sling his gloves over his shoulder, and whisper a silent prayer. God, don't let this be my forever. The city didn't care about people like him, the ones who cleaned up after everyone else's mess. He was invisible to the world, yet he noticed everything. The discarded dreams in broken toys, the lost hopes in torn photographs, and sometimes, the faint trace of perfume that reminded him of his late mother. Life hadn't given Jamal much. His father left when he was 6. His mother worked 2 jobs until cancer took her away. Since then, he had no family, no savings, just a tiny room in the rough part of town and a heart full of silent determination. One gray morning, after a long shift, Jamal's truck pulled into a wealthy neighborhood. It was trash day in the kind of area where people threw away things others would die for: gold-plated lamps, designer clothes, gadgets barely used. But what caught Jamal's eye that day was something strange. It was a mirror, tall, antique, with golden edges carved like vines. It leaned against a trash can, almost glowing in the sunlight that broke through the clouds. "Man, rich folks throw away anything," his co-worker Darnell said, laughing. But Jamal felt something. A pull. As if the mirror was looking back at him. When he got home, he cleaned it up and set it against the wall in his small apartment. It looked too elegant for a place like his, but something about it felt comforting. That night, he sat on his bed, staring into it. And for the first time, the reflection wasn't what it seemed. He blinked. In the mirror, he wasn't wearing his uniform, he was in a suit. His hands weren't rough and scarred, they were holding a gold pen, signing papers. Behind him was a skyline, his skyline. Jamal jumped back, heart pounding. What in the world? The image faded. The mirror went dark. The next morning, he tried to forget about it. But at work, strange things began to happen. He found a broken watch near the bins, an old Rolex. Normally, he'd toss it aside, but something made him keep it. He took it to a pawn shop. The man there blinked twice and said, "Son, do you know what this is worth?" That night, Jamal put the money on his table and looked into the mirror again. The reflection was clearer this time. He was sitting in an office, surrounded by people in suits, smiling. His name was engraved on the door. Jamal Thompson Enterprises. Tears filled his eyes. "If this is a dream, don't wake me up." A voice echoed from the mirror, soft, like wind through leaves. "Dreams aren't meant to fade. They're meant to be lived." He fell backward, terrified. But the mirror was silent again. The next day, Jamal started reading about business and investment during his breaks. His co-workers laughed. "Man, you picking stocks while picking trash." He just smiled. "You'll see." Every night, he looked into the mirror, and it showed him glimpses: deals, partnerships, a mansion, even a woman smiling beside him. It was as if the mirror wasn't showing what was, but what could be. Then one evening, something changed. As he reached out to touch the mirror, it rippled like water. And a coin, small, silver, ancient, fell out onto his floor. He picked it up, trembling. On one side, it had a strange engraving, a lion standing before a crown. On the other side, the words, "Value is what you make it." He didn't know it yet, but that coin was the start of a journey that would turn his world upside down and test everything he believed about luck, destiny, and the price of success. Jamal placed the coin beside his bed and whispered, "If you're real, mirror, show me who I'm supposed to be." The next morning, the mirror was gone. But what replaced it was a letter. It was sealed with gold wax, addressed to him by name. And it read, "Your life is about to change, Jamal. But remember, every gift comes with a cost." Jamal stood frozen, the letter trembling in his hands. The wax seal shimmered faintly under the weak light of his apartment. He ran his thumb across it, feeling the smoothness of gold. "Who even knows my name?" he whispered. His heart thudded as he broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of thick, cream-colored paper, the kind rich folks used for invitations. The handwriting was elegant, old-fashioned, like it belonged to another time. "Mr. Jamal Thompson. You have been chosen to inherit an opportunity beyond measure. Within 3 days, you must decide whether to pursue what the mirror showed you or return to the life you've always known. Meet at 72 Kingsley Avenue 9 p.m. sharp. Bring the coin. Come alone. No signature. No clue who it was from." He flipped the paper over. Nothing. Just the faint scent of roses and rain. Jamal sat down, his mind racing. Is this some kind of joke? But deep down, something told him it wasn't. The mirror, the visions, the coin, they were all connected. And now, someone out there wanted him to make a choice. That night, he couldn't sleep. He stared at the letter for hours, wrestling between fear and faith. He thought about his life, the long days, the aching muscles, the quiet loneliness. The world never gave him a chance, but what if this was one? By the second day, he'd made up his mind. Whatever this is, he told himself, I'm seeing it through. Night of the third day. Jamal arrived at 72 Kingsley Avenue in his old pickup truck. The street was lined with mansions, each one bigger than any place he'd ever imagined living. But the address led to something different. A rundown estate, covered in ivy, stood at the very end of the lane. Its windows were dark, but a single light flickered inside. The front gate creaked open on its own. Jamal hesitated. If this is how horror movies start, I better get paid good. He forced a nervous laugh, clutching the coin in his pocket. As he stepped inside, the air felt heavier. The hall was filled with mirrors, small, large, cracked, polished, lining both sides. Each reflected him differently, older, younger, dressed in different clothes, living different lives. Then a voice came from the far end of the hall. Welcome, Jamal. A tall woman stepped into view, wearing a black coat that shimmered like glass. Her eyes glowed faintly silver, almost mirror-like. Who are you? He asked, his voice shaky. She smiled. I'm the keeper. The mirror that found you is one of ours. It reveals not what you are, but what you can become if you're willing to pay the price. He frowned. What price? She walked closer. Everything you gain comes from something you give. Success, wealth, power, none of it is free. The mirror only shows those brave enough to believe. Jamal pulled the coin from his pocket. This thing, it fell out of the mirror. What does it mean? The woman's smile deepened. That coin is a promise. A key. It opens your path, but only if you choose to walk it. He glanced down at the coin, the lion and crown gleaming under the dim light. So if I say yes, what happens to me? She tilted her head. You'll no longer be a garbage collector. You'll rise beyond your wildest dreams. But your old life, your comfort, your past, your fears must all be left behind. Jamal's voice cracked. And if I say no? She turned away. Then you wake up tomorrow, and this will all feel like a dream. He swallowed hard. I don't have much to lose anyway. The woman nodded. Then hold the coin, close your eyes, and believe. He did. And in that moment, the world dissolved into light. When Jamal opened his eyes, he wasn't in the mansion anymore. He was standing in a grand office overlooking the city, the same skyline he'd seen in the mirror. His reflection in the window wore a sharp black suit. His name was engraved on a gold plaque. Jamal Thompson, founder and CEO, Mirror Core Industries. His breath caught. This can't be real. He turned around. The same woman stood there, her silver eyes now gentle. It's real enough, she said. You built this company. You're one of the wealthiest men in the country. But remember, every gift comes with a cost. He looked around, dazed. Cost? What cost? Her eyes flickered. That, Jamal, is something you'll discover soon. And before he could speak, she vanished, leaving only a whisper behind. Be careful what you reflect. Days turned into weeks. Jamal lived in this new world with wealth, status, and everything he'd ever dreamed of. Yet sometimes, when he passed a mirror, he'd see something else. A tired man in a green uniform, staring back with sadness in his eyes. A version of himself he could never truly escape. And one morning, while reviewing a deal, he noticed something strange. The coin, the same one that started it all, was lying on his desk. But now, the lion was gone. The crown remained, cracked. A chill ran down his spine. That night, the mirror in his penthouse began to shimmer again. And a voice whispered, "The price has just begun." Jamal woke up in a cold sweat. The city skyline glowed beyond his penthouse window, neon lights and glass towers stretching into the darkness. His silk sheets clung to his skin, but the chill came from inside him, not the room. That whisper still echoed in his mind. The price has just begun. He sat up, his heart pounding. The mirror across the room glimmered faintly, even though the lights were off. Not again, he muttered, rubbing his face. He'd tried to ignore the strange things. Tried to focus on running his company Mirror Core Industries, a tech empire that seemed to have come from nowhere. His phone buzzed with deals, interviews, partnerships. People who used to ignore him now called him sir. But something didn't feel right. He was living his dream, yet he felt like a stranger in his own life. Every morning, when he looked in the mirror, he saw success. But every night, that same mirror showed something different, a flicker of who he used to be. The tired man in the green uniform. The one who prayed for a chance. And lately, the visions were growing stronger. That morning, his assistant Maya entered the office, a kind woman with a sharp mind. "Sir, we've got a small issue with the new investment deal," she said. "Your signature's missing from the final document." Jamal frowned. "I signed that yesterday." She hesitated. "Yes, but it wasn't your signature. It looks like someone else's." Jamal's stomach twisted. "What do you mean, someone else's?" She slid the paper across the desk. His name was there, but the handwriting was different. It was the same elegant, old-fashioned style as the letter that started it all. He froze. Maya noticed his silence. "Are you okay, sir?" Yeah, I'm fine." He forced a smile. "Just handle the paperwork again." But deep down, he knew. The mirror wasn't done with him. That night, he sat in his office alone. The city below pulsed like a heartbeat, alive with energy. He reached into his drawer and pulled out the coin. The crown on it was cracked now, the metal darker, almost burned. "What do you want from me?" he whispered to the empty room. The mirror answered. A shimmer. A pulse. Then his reflection blinked, but he hadn't moved. Jamal stumbled back. The version of himself inside the mirror smirked, a colder, sharper version. The reflection wore the same suit, but his eyes were hollow. "Who are you?" Jamal demanded. The reflection spoke. "I'm you, the man you wanted to be." "That's not true," Jamal said. "I never wanted to become rich, powerful, respected," the reflection interrupted. "Oh, you wanted it, Jamal. You begged for it. You looked in me and said, 'Show me who I'm supposed to be.' So I did." Jamal shook his head. "No. You're lying." The reflection laughed. "You traded your soul for this world. You wanted the dream, now live with the nightmare." Suddenly, the mirror rippled, and the reflection stepped forward, half of his body emerging from the glass, like smoke turning solid. Jamal stumbled back, grabbing the coin. The reflection's voice grew deeper. Every gift has a price. For every dollar you gained, someone lost something. For every success, another version of you suffered. What do you mean? Jamal shouted. Look. The mirror flared and Jamal saw flashes. A man himself still collecting garbage in another world, coughing, struggling, alone. A woman crying in a dark room, Maya, fired and homeless in another timeline. Children begging in alleys as mirror core factories polluted their streets. Every version of his success was built on someone else's fall. No, no, that's not real, Jamal whispered. It's realier than you think, the reflection hissed. You just chose not to see it. The lights in the room flickered. The air grew heavy, filled with static. Jamal clutched the coin tighter and it burned in his hand, branding the cracked crown into his palm. He dropped it with a cry. The reflection stepped fully out of the mirror, now identical, but darker, stronger. You built this world on a mirror's promise, it said. But promises have balance. You can't have light without shadow. Jamal backed away. What do you want from me? The reflection smiled. To make things right. You enjoyed the gain, now share the pain. Before Jamal could react, the reflection lunged, merging with him in a burst of silver light. He gasped, collapsing to his knees. Visions flooded his mind, every life, every version of him across every choice. The poor Jamal, the rich Jamal, the broken, the hopeful, all of them crashing into one truth: he had become the reflection. When he opened his eyes again, it was morning. The city was the same, but something was off. His reflection in the mirror didn't move anymore. He lifted his hand, the reflection stayed still. And then, it smiled. Jamal stumbled back, horrified. He grabbed the coin from the floor, now completely black, and threw it at the mirror. It shattered, scattering shards across the marble floor. But in every shard, the reflection still smiled. Then the phone rang. Mr. Thompson. Maya's voice trembled. Sir, we have a problem. The company's accounts, they're vanishing. Every dollar. Every record. It's like the system's deleting itself. Jamal stared at the shards, his heart sinking. The voice from the mirror echoed in his head once more. Every gift comes with a cost, and your debt is due. Jamal sat frozen in his office, surrounded by the shattered remains of the mirror. The fragments glinted in the light like broken diamonds, each one holding a reflection that moved just a second too late. He could still hear that voice, cold and distant, whispering through the air. Every gift comes with a cost, and your debt is due. His phone buzzed again. Maya's voice came through, trembling. Sir, the company accounts are gone, everything. It's like the entire system erased itself. Your name, it's disappearing from the records too. Jamal's mind spun. Disappearing. He looked around. The awards that once lined his office shelves were gone. The nameplate that read Jamal Thompson, CEO, had faded, the letters peeling away as if time itself was erasing him. He stumbled to his feet, breathing heavily. No, this isn't real. This can't be real. But the truth was right there in front of him, written in every reflection that stared back from the shards. He wasn't being erased from the world. He was being erased from the life the mirror had borrowed for him. That night, the penthouse was silent. The city below roared with life, but Jamal's world was crumbling. He knelt beside the broken mirror, hands trembling, staring into one of the larger pieces. For the first time in weeks, he saw himself as he truly was: tired, broken, afraid. Not the billionaire. Not the CEO. Just Jamal, the garbage collector who once dreamed too big for the world to handle. Why me? He whispered. I didn't ask for this kind of curse. A faint shimmer rippled across the shards. And then, the reflection spoke. You did ask, Jamal. You asked to see who you could be. You wanted more than your life could give. And when the chance came, you took it? He shook his head. I didn't know I'd lose everything. Every gain demands a loss. That's balance, the reflection said softly. You built an empire on the promise of the mirror, but you forgot the truth. The mirror doesn't create. It reflects. It only shows what's already inside you. Jamal's breath hitched. So, all this time, it wasn't magic. No, the reflection replied. It was you. The drive, the hunger, the belief. The mirror simply gave it shape. He looked down at his hands, calloused, rough, scarred from years of work. Maybe it was true. The power was never in the mirror. It was in him. But somewhere along the way, he'd traded belief for greed. He clenched his fists. Then how do I make it right? The reflection's eyes glowed faintly. The mirror gave you wealth without wisdom. Now you must return what was never earned. Before he could respond, the shards lifted off the floor, swirling into the air like a storm of glass. They fused together, reshaping into the tall, golden-edged mirror once more. But this time, the surface wasn't silver. It was black, deep, endless, alive. The voice of the keeper, the mysterious woman from the mansion, echoed around him. The final choice, Jamal. You can keep this world and fade with it, or give it back, and restore the balance. He looked at the mirror, then at the city lights outside his empire, his legacy, his dream. What happens if I give it back? He asked. You return to the life you came from. Poor, unseen, but free. You'll remember everything, though no one else will. He closed his eyes. The decision tore through his chest. All his life, he'd wanted more. He'd wanted to matter. To rise above the noise. To prove he wasn't just another invisible man cleaning the streets. And now, when he finally had it all, the price was everything that made him human. He opened his eyes. Then take it back. The mirror pulsed once, glowing brighter. Are you sure, Jamal Thompson? He nodded. I'd rather be real and broke than rich and hollow. The room began to quake. The skyline outside blurred like melting paint. The sound of wind roared through the windows, pulling him forward. Jamal reached out, his fingertips brushed the black glass, and in an instant, the world shattered into light. When he woke, he was lying on cold pavement. The morning sun was rising over the city. Garbage trucks rumbled nearby. He sat up slowly, his uniform covered in dust. His gloves, his boots, the smell of diesel, it was all back. For a moment, he thought it had all been a dream. But then, as he reached for his pocket, he felt something cold and familiar. The coin. Only this time, it was whole again. The lion stood proud before the crown. And etched beneath it were new words. True value is earned, not given. Jamal smiled a small, real smile and let out a deep breath. He got up and looked around. The city was still the same, loud and indifferent. But something inside him had changed. He wasn't invisible anymore, not to himself. He picked up his trash bin, lifted it onto the truck, and began his route. As the sun climbed higher, light reflected off a car window nearby, shining for a moment like the surface of a mirror. Jamal paused, smiled at his reflection, and whispered, I see you now. And this time, the reflection smiled back, not with power, not with pride, but with peace. Epilogue. Months later, Jamal started a small business recycling and refurbishing old items from the city's waste. He called it Lioncore Renewal. It didn't make him billions. But it built something better: purpose. And sometimes, when he walked through his workshop late at night, he'd swear he could hear a faint voice in the shadows say, You finally learned the lesson. He'd smile, glance at the old mirror he'd repaired and hung on the wall, and whisper back, "Yeah, I did."